Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to show number 192 of the Arc Junkies Podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Rush Kane, also known as Kane Kid on Instagram. Rush is the first person in the industry to have a welding machine custom built off of his recommendations and feedback. OTC has just released the RKX 220 TIG machine that's exclusively available on kaneindustries.co. We talk about the machine, some of the other products he has going on, and what all went down in FabTech 2021 in Chicago. We're going to get into all that and more after a quick word from the supporters of the show. Today's episode of the Arc Junkies Podcast is brought to you by Stepped Wedge. You guys have got to check these out. Whether you're a pipe hand, a structural fabricator, ornamental worker, or you work in a job shop, every welder and fabricator should have a set of reliable, well-built wedges for your toolbox. I used to use scrap material for years to set my gaps and shim parts before welding, but it was always guesswork. The Stepped Wedge has allowed me to get the perfect gap every time. Whether I'm setting up an open root demo for the kids at the school or setting a gap in my shop at home, the Stepped Wedge has become my favorite tool in my arsenal. Stepped wedges are made from hardened stainless steel so they won't contaminate your exotic alloys. And the spatterproof wedges are made from plasma nitride carbon steel, making these wedges nearly indestructible. The Stepped Wedge allows you to set any gap from 3/32 to 1/4 of an inch, and the spatterproof wedges allow you to set your own custom gap from flush up to 1/4 of an inch. Get your step and spatterproof wedges today at gapandtack.com and get 10% off when you use code word ARCJunkies in the discount box at checkout. That's right, head on over to gapandtack.com right now to take advantage of this great deal. That's gapandtack.com. Wedges made for professionals. We're also brought to you by Fronius USA. And right now, they're running their Dip into Summer promo where you can get an instant $600 rebate when you buy a Magic Wave 230i in either air-cooled or water-cooled, along with a Bluetooth accessory. You could choose from the Visor Connect welding helmet or the wireless foot pedal. The Fronius Magic Wave 230i AC/DC air-cooled TIG machine is another huge step forward in the welding industry. Fronius brings their state-of-the-art technology to the brand new class of AC/DC air-cooled TIG welders. Every time Fronius comes out with a new machine, a new standard is set in the world of welding, takes a huge technological leap forward. This machine is no exception to that, and we know you're going to be impressed. The Dip into Summer sales promo is only available until September 30th, so you still have a little bit of time to take advantage of this awesome deal. We're also brought to you by Rockmount Research and Alloys. I just had a call the other day with my good friend Ryan Eubank, who's doing some work in a chemical plant. He called me up and asked if I knew of any welding rods that he could use on some material that couldn't be identified. This is right up my wheelhouse. They'd already tried 7018, 8018-B2, 308, 309, nickel 99, and a bunch of other welding rods, but the welds continued to crack, and they were even doing pre- and post-heating. I told him to check out the Brutus rod from Rockmount, which is designed specifically for this application. Brutus is designed to weld unidentifiable metals with 135,000 pounds of tensile strength and 35% elongation, and you can put it in with a much lower amperage. For example, an 1/8-inch diameter Brutus only needs about 95 amps, and they run super smooth. And the best part is, now you can order Rockmount's rods and wires through MSC Direct. And what's more, you can get free shipping on all their products and get it delivered right to your front door. So what's your welding problem? Check out rockmountwelding.com today to find your solution. We're also brought to you by Everlast Welders. There's a storm coming. Everlast just released their new multi-process welding machine, the Storm 215 IC. The new Everlast Storm is an all-in-one MIG, stick, and plasma machine. The all-new Storm 215 IC is capable of 200 amps for MIG welding, 160 amps for stick welding, and 40 amps for plasma cutting. And the best part is, you can pre-order your Storm right now at everlastwelders.com for the low introductory price of $13.99, and your machine's going to ship to you before the holidays. Now is the perfect time to pull the trigger on a new multi-process machine you've been waiting for. And don't forget to use code word ARCJunkies in the comment section at checkout when you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal, and get that free Nova foot pedal and TIG torch upgrade absolutely free. All right, you know what time it is. Fire up your machine, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
You're listening to the Arc Junkies Podcast. Helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is day 2 of the FabTech Expo 2021. I'm sitting here with Rush Kane. Kane, what's going on, man?
Oh, just enjoying FabTech. This is awesome to be back after a 2-year break. This is just absolutely amazing.
It's kind of surreal. I mean, I didn't think it was going to pop off, because with all the different mandates were coming down and, requirements to get in and all this stuff. But, it seems like they lifted a lot of the stuff that, they were saying this is what you have to do before you get here.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a lot easier than I expected it to be. It's great.
Yeah, it's been a good show. I mean, there's a lot of people here. I think I was talking to Nate yesterday. Said there's 25,000 people that were registered. I don't know exactly how many people showed up, but I mean, there's a lot of people here. I mean, it feels like the original FabTech, and because it's about half the size and half the amount of people, it still seems like a full show.
That's awesome. It's great. What's awesome about this year is there's a little bit more there's more of a connection with all the brands walking around the show floor. We can walk around and we can get to know more about the products that are here on the floor this year because there is less people.
Yeah.
And it's not as hot in here with less bodies in here. It's not as hot.
It's actually pretty decent as far as temperature.
You can feel the AC. It's pretty nice.
What'd you get into yesterday during day 1?
Mostly yesterday, I wanted to just kind of roll around and check everything out.
Mm-hmm.
I have some big news today, so I was setting up for that yesterday, getting ready.
Okay.
So this is a very exciting FabTech for me.
You want to go ahead and talk about that because this episode is going to air after your reveal.
Yeah.
So tell us what you got, man. You got some big exciting news, some cool features.
So over the past few years, I've been working with OTC Daihan. They're a Japanese robotics company. They make the best welding power sources for robots, and they have a manual TIG welding machine. And I've been using that machine, the DTX 2200, for the past 3.5 years. And I've been working directly with OTC, and they've asked me what I would prefer and want in a machine to make it the ultimate best machine in the world. So for me, taking that, what do I think is the best machine? I gave my feedback to OTC, and a couple years later I hear back that they nailed everything and more that I could ever dream of in a machine, and this thing is phenomenal. What I wanted was something in an inverter machine that doesn't consume power, that has a lot of reliable, the arc reliability is immaculate, but you don't have some of the personalization that you have in an old school transformer machine, where you can go in and you can set your contacts inside the machine to control your high frequency, your different intensities, and get a different start sequence mechanically through your diodes.
Yeah, you can't do that on an inverter.
You can't do that on an inverter.
They rely on a capacitor.
It's a computer program plugged in.
Yeah.
It just tells it how to go. So what we did with OTC is developed a control board that you can control and write your own arc ignition program sequence in the machine.
Really?
And not only that, you can, on AC, you can select what polarity you want the machine to start out on. So typically an inverter machine, a modern inverter, will start off on EP.
Yeah.
And it lights off. So what that means is you have all that electric force coming off of your base metal up towards your tungsten electrode.
Yeah.
And that balls your tungsten, and then you don't have a pinpoint start anymore. And you could do that with an old transformer if you use a 2% lanthanated electrode, sharpened it to a fine point. Those machines would hold that point, and you would have pinpoint accuracy on every arc start on AC.
Yeah.
And you go to the inverters now, and it's not there.
Can't do it. That's what I told my rep a while ago because I was messing around with the Aspect 375, and I was like, is there any way to go back in there in the programming and switch it to ignite off of electrode negative instead of electrode positive? Because as soon as you make arc initiation, it kind of spalls up the tip of your tungsten. You're like, damn, I just spent time putting this nice point on there, and as soon as I light up, this is what I get. And for the longest time, I was like, maybe it's just the tungsten. So I switched brands, switched types, nothing. And I was like, okay, it's obviously starting on EP because I've got a lot more force coming in, because the way the electrons are flowing, and it's jacking up my tungsten right at the arc initiation.
Yeah,
and it's only
a half a second that it does it.
But that's all it takes, and it screws it up. Mm-hmm. I'd be interested to check that out. And then what other type of features do you have on it?
So you can select your polarity. You can write You can write the program so you can control the intensity and the duration of the arc starts. And OTC just went ahead and went another level, and they brought the machine down to a 1 amp start on DC with a 1 amp arc stability. If the base metal obviously allows for that. If it's thin enough, then it can carry 1 amp minimum.
So you can actually weld with 1 amp on this machine.
Yeah, 1 amp minimum on DC. They couldn't get it down to 1 amp on AC, but they were able to get it down to 3.
That's still pretty damn.
It's absolutely amazing.
That's pretty cool.
I've never seen anything come this close to this capability. It's just
I mean that's a lot of that's a lot of you know, you got a lot of variance in there. I mean, you've got a lot of customization in that, you know, to be able to develop your own arc initiation and, you know, low current, you know, start and be able to weld at like 1 amp for DC and 3 amps for AC. Yeah. That's pretty damn impressive. Now, how long have you been testing the machine since they kind of perfected it and, you know, they set it up?
So far this year I've been running the testing on the new board.
Okay.
And it's so cool.
So is that the machine you've been using to do all your rings and stuff with?
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, on my rings, it's crazy as it sounds, is like a 15 amp start is too intense for when I'm making the rings.
Well, yeah, because I mean you've got like the tiny little, what do they call the part that holds the rock in the center and all that stuff, like where you're setting your set piece.
Yeah, they have a little. There's a little prong, and working with like the stainless steel jewelry, it's a little bit crazy. Speaking of it, here's Mike from OTC. Do you want him to invite him over?
Yeah, we could talk to him.
He might have some really.
Might have a little bit more insight.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
How you doing?
Mike
Nice to meet you. Mike Monin with OTC.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about the new RKX 220.
Well, let me tell you the story about kind of how we got there with it, right? I ran into Rush at the Atlanta show, 2017, I believe. We had a new unit produced by our European associate. We were curious about its capability. It was really kind of a market segment that we didn't know a lot about. So I wanted somebody that was deep into the community to figure out what the capability of this was. And we got a pretty quick answer that it was nice, but not great, right? And he provided a lot of valuable feedback, which allowed us to go back to the drawing board on it and put the features into the product that Rush wanted. And just sort of by a natural process, we got to the point where, hey, would you be interested in curating a solution for those folks that are coming into the industry that really want to weld like one of the best guys that can weld TIG, right? So he was instrumental in pulling the pieces together. Great relationships with the guys at CK. Obviously, he knew our product and helped us make it much better than it originally was, so it was just a natural progress.
Nice.
It's something that just fell into place. One of the nicest guys. I mean, there's a lot of great guys in the welding industry. I haven't met anybody that's not a stand-up person, but Rush is like an unbelievable guy to work with.
Right. And now how user intuitive is it? I mean, is it pretty simple to set up and operate and use? Rush was kind of telling us about, you know, like you can kind of design your own arc initiation. I mean, how difficult is that?
Yeah, it's a pretty programmable unit. He knows a lot more about it than I do.
Okay.
And he's probably a better guy to answer that question. But if there's anybody that can squeeze the performance out of it, it's him. And the beauty of this curated package that he's done is he has all the tools that you need to squeeze the maximum out of this. You're not going to be limited now by your machine. It's the beauty of it. He's raised the ceiling for everybody with what he's put together.
Okay. And where can people pick these machines up? How soon are they going to be available?
Well, they're exclusively available on Rush's website, kaneindustries.co.
Nice.
You can get his sleeves there.
I've got his sleeves.
Which are
awesome,
awesome product. I mean, and I believe there'll be more, right? His caps are unbelievable. I mean, a great idea for welders that somebody should have thought of a long time ago. I don't know if we're allowed to let the cat out of the bag about the gloves yet. Maybe I just blew it for you.
Oh, there it goes. Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube now.
But, yeah, he's the guy. This is all about him. This is not really about OTC in any way, shape, or form. This was 99% Rush Kane. So great guy to work with, and I'm pretty excited for his reveal today at 11.
That's great.
Hopefully the community comes over and sees the kind of greatness that he's been up to.
Definitely.
So appreciate the time.
Thanks, Mike.
Great talking to you.
You as well. Dude, that's pretty badass that it's going to be exclusively available on your website. I figured you could just go to a dealer, get on OTC.com, eBay, Amazon. No, you got to go directly to Rush Kane's site to pick one of these bad boys up.
Yeah, and along with that, we have, it's either Affirm or Afterpay. You can put this on a payment plan if you're approved, which is really cool. It's something that I personally would have wanted, and it's just a market item that I wish that was available for me.
Right.
Years ago.
It's kind of like with Affirm. It's like a layaway. Like you're going to ship the product out, and then they just make payments on it.
Yeah, it's a third-party partnership that we have with them. They pay me in full, and you pay them.
And that's like a legit company. Like, so for those that don't know, like Amazon and Walmart are also going. They're scheduling stuff through Affirm. So you can go pick up your Blackstone griddle or whatever you want, and pay through Affirm. So I mean, it's a legit site. To be able to set up and get credit and make payments on something.
It's nice.
Now, what's the price point going to be on this machine?
The price point on this machine is just under $6,500.
Okay.
It comes with a 4-wheel cart. It comes with the fully loaded with CK Worldwide, all the best. What I think is the best of the best. CK has proven to me to be, as they say, the standard in TIG welding. They've proven that to me over all the years that I've used them and not used them and gone back. They're just amazing products that I trust 100%.
What kind of torch is on it?
So this is a 25-foot FlexLock 230.
Nice.
So it's a 230 amp max torch, which is more than the capacity of the machine.
Yeah, so you're not going to burn the torch up with that machine.
And no. So I've ran this same torch with this machine from CK for the past 3.5 years.
Nice.
No issues. It's awesome. The FlexLock 230 is a 360-degree rotatable head torch. And it's still water cooled, which is just absolutely amazing. Like if you need to get into like a roll cage, readjust your torch angle to get around into different spots, wherever you need, you can pretty much nail it with that torch. One torch for everything. And it comes with, we have a consumables kit that comes with this machine that has laser tungsten 332. It comes with wedge collets, a couple of gas lenses, and it comes with silicon nitride super cups versus the pink alumina ceramic. And the reason I use those is because the silicon nitride's like a volcanic ash.
Yeah.
It doesn't have thermal expansion, and so when you're in high amperage situations, those cups won't crack or explode or.
I've had that problem with the alumina cups, or alumina nozzles, the pink ones.
Yeah.
Like you start welding, you get done, and that thing's glowing hot, and then you go to strike up another one, and you're like, what the hell happened? And you look, and the whole back side of your cup is like, it's on the floor.
Yeah,
you didn't drop it.
Your number 5's a number 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just becomes a real pain in the ass after a while. So what other cool products? I mean, I guess Mike kind of dropped the ball on or blew the lid off the sewer with your gloves. What's going on with those?
Over the past few years, I've been using products that have gone away, or products that they work for me, but I need something that works better because I don't want to be limited. I don't want to be distracted when I'm working, and the products I can see that I need, I feel like I might as well just go ahead and make it for everybody. Because if I like it, I'm sure somebody else might. Even as particular and weird and quirky as I am, when it comes down to every fine detail, there's other people that appreciate it too.
Think about it, like that's like your suit, your gloves when you're working. I mean, you've got to have. That's probably the number one tool that you're going to be using. I mean, aside from your hood and your machine and everything, once you get down to it, I mean, talking like personalized equipment, PPE, you've got to have something good on your hands that's going to like protect you from what you're doing, but still allow you to do what you need to get in there and do. You need to have the dexterity. You need to be able to feel that filler wire in your hands. And up until, like you coming out with a new set of gloves, I mean, people have just settled for what's available. You can only get certain TIG gloves. Like I use a lot of the, what the hell are they? Polypropylene kind of gloves and stuff like that. Like, especially like for low amp TIG welding, because like we're only doing like 65 amps. So, I'll put like the the X pad from Mechanics down, and then I'll just use those thinner gloves because I'm down around, like 30, 40 amps for some of the stuff that I'm doing. And so I'm not going to burn myself with it. But if there was a better, safer alternative, that's probably what I would use. But I know, the leather gloves, they're kind of, too thick for what I'm doing, or they don't fit just right, or they shrink when you touch anything hot. So they're just not there's never really been a whole lot of thought put into a TIG glove other than just make it thin and, make it fit.
Yeah. And that's, going off of what you just said, a lot of what I wanted to bring into it is we have a wide range of gloves on the market, and one glove's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Hands are different, and they're different day to day. But having a glove that is customizable on the fit through the width of your palm, that's something I wanted to bring into this glove that I'm going to be coming out with.
How soon are you going to be launching them?
I have production samples with me that I'm running. I'm finishing my testing through.
Okay.
But just like everything I do, I need to make sure that it's 100% good before anybody else can have it. Because if there's something about it that annoys me, I'm not going to let anybody have that experience.
Right.
And so that's what my Kane Industries, my Arc Defense line of Kane Industries is all about.
So I want to hold off on the other details and features of the glove, only because if they're not ready to be launched right now, I don't want to give anybody else an idea of what to incorporate into their gloves so they can get it into production. Because I don't know about you, you probably get 30 Instagram messages a day about glove companies wanting to build you a freaking glove.
Oh yeah,
it's all the time, man. As soon as I open it up, it's like, hey, hi friend, I make glove, and it's like, no, buddy, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the arc sleeves a little bit, because I got a set with me because I'm battling it out with Max Ferron on Thursday, and that's what I'm wearing. I didn't want to bring a welding jacket, I didn't want to mess around with any of that, so I was like, I'm bringing my Kane Kid arc sleeves, man, the Arc Defense. These things they're awesome. Legit. And I was talking to a dude, Alex Driscoll, yesterday. I think it was Alex. He's got a set also, and because he has smaller arms, like the cuffs that we typically get, the sleeves we typically get, they slide off his arms.
Yeah.
And then I've got bigger arms, so when I put those on, they get that elastic band that just tears into my bicep all day and then tears in at my wrist, and then it's just big and bulky in between.
Yeah.
But with your sleeves, it's like, you pick the appropriate size that you need, they slide on, they stay up all day. I don't have to keep pulling them up. And I don't know what kind of black magic you got in them, but I literally swear that my arms feel 10 degrees cooler. So even when I'm in the shop just out there working, setting things up, fixturing things, not grinding or anything, but getting things prepped, I'll put the sleeves on because it's hot as hell in Florida. So if I can cool myself down anyway, I'll throw those on. But it literally feels like air conditioning on my arms.
That's awesome. That's actually what we designed them for. It took me about 8 years of studying different fabrics and textiles.
Holy shit.
To do these sleeves. I didn't want to wear a jacket. I've worked in a fab shop for so long that having a jacket, being suited up, being hot, and TIG welding was just, there was a point of where you had a miserable distraction.
Yeah.
Just to do your job. Some of the shops that I worked in the summers, there's no AC, and so when it heats up in the summer and it's 104 outside,
yeah,
sometimes it's 130 inside.
Yeah, and you can't have a fan blowing on you because now you're going to blow away all your shielding gas and stuff. And
yeah, and so that's where I really dove into it, working in the heat. I needed something that I could manage my body temp and just work and do what I needed to do. And I found and studied different fabrics, and found this fabric that has a fiber blend that's naturally cooling. And so when you have that slight breeze, and when you have those on, if it's hot, you have a slight breeze, it's literally air cools it down rapidly.
Yeah.
And it's yeah.
You got to make shirts out of that stuff, dude, because that stuff it's sick. I'd wear it out in town.
And that fabric's cool. It's not FR. It's not FR treated.
Right.
But it has such a dense weave in the fabric that I've MIG welded in those and I've stick welded in those in one pair for 3 years straight just to test these. Mm-hmm. And I had one pea-size hole in my sleeves at the end of it.
Damn.
These sleeves are made to last. It's great for everybody but me on that aspect, business side, but it's
there's no planned obsolescence to where this should last 6 months and then they got to buy a new set.
Yeah, they'll last. If you take care of them, they'll last.
No, that's great, man. And then I noticed you came out with the hat. I had one of my students walked in. He was wearing a Rush Kane hat with a short brim. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, so I do a short brim snapback that's all FR, and it has padding in the front, the side panels, and then the top. And on the top, there's no button, so you can wear it with a welding helmet or a hard hat. If you're on a job site and you want a little extra comfy under there, like.
That was the thing, like when I was going through Ironworks, they're like, you can't wear a ball cap underneath because that button on the top.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's ridiculous, but that's where that cross-strapping is. So if you get, a heavy enough impact, that cross-strapping will drive that button into your skull. Not far, but enough to, like, you're going to feel it.
Oh, yeah.
So we weren't allowed to wear ball caps, so you got rid of the button on the top and everything. So it's like a nice, sleek, smooth design. It looks really cool. It's
really
very functional.
Yeah,
it's a pretty neat setup.
And that has the short brim on the front, and that brim fits under most welding helmets if you wear the hat frontwards.
So it's like a built-in deflector as well. So now you're not getting sparks dropping in the top of your hood and all that.
Yeah, if anybody is MIG welding, they have the sparks that roll through your safety glasses.
Yeah,
like
I get it all. Yeah.
This brim will help block that out. And also, it helps eliminate some light pollution from overhead.
Okay.
And if you're just in the shop, it's called the shop cap, and it's something that. Working in the shop that I started doing is chopping the brims. So if you're working under a truck underneath the car, and you have a full brim, it limits your vision. It limits your vision to and you'll lift up and just rack your head on a bolt or like on the frame, hot exhaust, something like where you don't want to be because you have a blind vision.
Yeah, you get that your vertical peripheral vision's cut off or cut in half.
Yeah, and so it helps. Give you a better trajectory of vision, and
there's a lot of thought that goes into this stuff, man. You wouldn't think about it, but I'm glad somebody's doing it because I don't have the foresight to do this shit.
It was fun. It's something I looked at it and I was like, I think the traditional welding cap hasn't been updated for the past 100 years.
No, it's still the same panel, the same design. I mean, people go from 4 panel, 6 panel, 8 panel, back and forth between how many panels, but other than that, there hasn't been any innovations. Same thing as like the glove. There's not been a whole lot of innovations in the glove. We've seen the old school welding helmets that went from like goggles with a leather strap on them, up and through like the G502 from 3M. So I mean it's made progression throughout the time. Welding caps really haven't.
Yeah. And it's having a welding cap under your hood is something that it just makes it consistent and comfortable. Your hood feels the same every time you wear it.
Yeah. That's one thing. I always wear a cap, and people are like, you're TIG welding. What do you need a cap on for? I don't know. It's like a part of me. I go to weld something, I put my cap on. I'm not worried about sparks when I'm TIG welding, but I like the feel and fit of the caps that I have, and I don't know. I'm a freaking welder, man. That's why I keep the sparks out of my hair, keep the grind dust out of my hair. I just like wearing a welding cap when I'm welding, so they're,
it's part of it. It's part of the uniform.
Yeah.
To a lot of people, I think that's how it's seen. It's like, this is my welding hat. I'm proud to be a welder.
I've got buddies that actually they wear their welding hats like out in town on the weekends, and it's like, okay, buddy, I get it, you're a welder, but like I understand why they're doing it. They're not doing it to tell everybody a welder. It's just comfortable. Mm-hmm. I got a lot of iron worker buddies and the guys in the UA. They wear their pipe or they wear their welding caps on the weekends. It's just part of the uniform, man. Proud to be a welder.
Yeah, like me right now, I'm wearing. Yeah, I'm wearing it too.
Wearing your welding cap right now. So what else do you have going on at the show this week?
So just after this podcast, we're having the reveal of the RKX 220 at OTC. I'm going to be running some demos over there.
Okay.
And mostly from that, I'm just here at the show because this is my favorite place to be.
Yeah.
Being able to connect with the industry is just, it's absolutely phenomenal.
Have you been able to meet like a lot of new people while you've been here?
A lot of new people every year. There's just tons of new people, new companies that I didn't even know
existed.
Yeah,
because you never get to see them.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing being able to be here in person, being able to physically go up, demo a product, go check it out. You can't do that anywhere else like this.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the ARC Junkies podcast is brought to you by AHP Welders. AHP makes great machines for a fraction of the cost. If you're new to welding, learning in your garage, or you just need a welder to fix some stuff around the house or small projects, check out AHP.com and get a machine for under $1,000 without sacrificing performance. That's AHP.com. We're also brought to you by Strong Hand Tools, makers of heavy-duty welding tables, toggle clamps, magnets, and fabrication tools. If you're a student and you want to register your school for a free gift package, head on over to stronghandtools.com/ArcJunkies to register. And be sure to visit Stronghand if you're going to SEMA at booth number 37157, November 2nd through the 5th. Now let's get back into the show.
No, it's like you get to try before you buy. You see it here. I mean, none of this stuff's really for sale. I don't think any of the vendors are allowed to sell, or most of the vendors don't sell anything. But you can come in, you can try the product on if it's PPE. Welding machines, you can test them out. Grinders, abrasives. I mean, they've got everything set up to where you can come in and try it out. And if you like it, they'll put you in contact with a sales specialist, or hell, you can just get on Amazon and buy it. So I mean, it's everything that you need here, like consumables, tools, fixturing, PPE, apparel. I mean, you name it. CNC plasma cutters, handheld plasma cutters. I talked to Jake Ross with Hypertherm yesterday. They just came out with the new Hypertherm sink. Have you seen that?
I haven't.
You got to go over to that booth right behind the Pearl Abrasives and check it out, because
Sweet.
They built an all-in-one. All their consumables are just built into one piece now, and it's got like an RFID chip in it.
That's amazing.
So like your swirl ring, your nozzle, your electrode, like everything is built inside. It's one mechanism. So when you go to swap out your consumables, you swap out the entire piece. So now you're not scrambling around for 5 pieces. You don't have a little tackle box full of, like all your plasma cutting parts. It's one piece, one part, and when you put it in, if it's a drag cup or a flush cut or, whatever, or a gouging tip, as soon as you put it in, the machine sets itself to whatever that consumable is.
That is amazing.
And the rated output. So if you put a 65 amp consumable in there to do straight cutting, you put it in there, the machine sets itself, you hit the button, you pull the trigger, you cut. Now all of a sudden you got to do a little bit of gouging. You take that, that previous tip off, put the gouging tip on. Let's say that one's rated for 105 amps. Your machine already sets itself to 105. Hit the button, pull the trigger, and you're off to the races.
Wow.
It's fucking slick.
That is so sick.
And they've got it in 3 different machines, so it's the 65, 85, and 105.
Wow.
So it's pretty badass.
That is awesome. That's so cool. That's what we need.
Yeah, it's innovation. It's a time saver too. Have you stopped by the Fireball tool booth yet?
I haven't.
You got to go check out Jason with Fireball Tools. He's got this new vise. This thing is freaking badass. It opens up, the jaw opens up 14 inches, and there is absolutely no slop going back and forth.
Is that the big red one?
Yeah.
I did see that.
He's got like a Wilton vise, I think, on the other side of the table, and they back it out about 10 inches, and there's probably about a half inch, 3/4 inch of slop all the way around. This thing's built like a brick shit house. It's freaking solid. And then to spin it, you open up the 2 bolts on the side, and you can literally spin that vise with one finger.
Wow.
And it's probably, I can't remember, I think it's like 275 pounds. But you can it's all ball bearing driven. You can spin it. I put, he's got a little testing thing on there. How tight can you get the vise? I think it's up to 30K right now, 30,000 pounds. So like you can put 15 tons of pressure on whatever you got in the vise. Not that you would ever need it, but if you did, you've got it. So he's got like a little competition, and I think the winner of the show that puts the most amount of pressure on it without a cheater pipe, obviously, they get to take the vise home with them, or he's going to ship it to them. That is cool. It's pretty badass. There's a lot of cool, new innovative products. He's got like, I'm sure you've used like Le Square, or the fat bottom squares, the combination squares from like, I think Legas makes them, and then Kinetic Customs makes them. Jason's got one over there that's made out of cast iron that's like 4 inches wide, so it works on your fab tables, but it also has the little tab slots on the side, so you can screw in the little tabs and clamp it to what you're working on. That's amazing. And it probably weighs like 3 pounds, which it's kind of heavy, but it's perfect because now you can set it on your table. If you bump it, it's not going to tip over. You can square it right up to whatever you're working on, and it's going to stay. Like every other square is like very light, so any subtle movement, it bumps the square out of the way. This thing's solid. And then he took his magic squares and he shrunk them down to like a third of the size. So like now he's making smaller versions of his current tools for people that aren't doing big scale fabrication and stuff. That's awesome. He's got some really cool shit. You got to swing by his booth and check it out. All of the stuff for fabrication, I don't know. I think he just lays in bed at night and just thinks of problems that don't exist and builds tools for them. And then you realize you need it because, oh, damn, now I can do this, that, and the other. I don't have to fight my fabrication table to get it to do what I want. Like, everything is customizable. That's so cool. That's great. Have you been over to the other side yet where they do all the sheet metal forming and stamping and anything? I haven't been over there yet, but I'm planning on getting over there for a day, giving it a run through. I think that's what I'm going to do probably tomorrow. The robotics automation stuff it's mind-blowing. It's crazy. Have you seen Universal Robots?
No.
You got to go, so like right behind this booth here, this Amprel or whatever,
Okay.
there's Universal Robots. They're right across the way from Hypertherm. So when you go check out Hypertherm, go over to Universal Robots.
Awesome.
And now they've taken robots to where you don't need a teach pendant. I mean, you still have a teach pendant, but you grab the head of the robot and you push and hold a blue button, and you bring it down to where you want to start that weld, and then you tap the button. And then you grab it and you move it over where you want the weld to end, and you tap the button. And then you go through, and it's like a little iPad. You say, okay, I want to do a stitch weld. I want to do 2-on-3 centers. And you program everything in. I want a 5/16 fillet weld, set my voltage, wire feed speed, travel speed, boom, boom, boom. Everything's in there, and you hit go.
That is
like you can take
crazy.
somebody and train them to weld in like 5 minutes for repeatable parts.
That is awesome.
And I know people are going to get pissed off. Oh, they're taking our job. You don't want to weld the same damn part day in and day out 50 times. Program the robot to do it. Like, teach that robot how to weld. You know how to weld? Teach the robot how to do it, and then just make those parts. The cool thing is it's on a strong hand cart. So you can grab this little robot and you can wheel it from one side of the shop to the next.
What? That
the
is
robot
so
runs
cool.
on 110. I think they got a Miller, I can't remember what they got hooked up to it. It's kind of like a 255, or the Multimatic, or the Multimatic 255. I think is hooked to the side of it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all, or no, it's not even that. Shit, I'd have to run back over there and look at it. I wasn't really paying attention to the welder, but it's pretty neat. It's all built onto this cart, and you can just wheel it wherever you want to go, and then you can fix your parts on a separate table, and just wheel that table up to the robot, and it'll reach over and weld all the parts out.
That's cool.
It's badass.
That is so cool.
Do you check out the Weld Metals online booth?
Yeah, that is awesome.
I seen you over there yesterday dropping some dimes with the aluminum.
Yeah, I went over there yesterday and was able to check out the Fronius with the CK torch on it.
Right? How'd you like it?
It was nice.
I seen you had a big grin on. Like, as soon as you lifted up your hood, you got this big grin.
Yeah, I ran that a couple years ago with the Fronius torch, and CK is what feels right for me, and so I wasn't able to have the experience that I would like to have with a machine.
Right.
It just didn't feel comfortable. But Justin he took the Fronius and set it up with CK and put it in there, and was able to go test it out, and it was nice. It's a great machine.
Yeah, I didn't realize
It's
he was
fun.
giving away a prime weld every single day of the show.
That's so cool.
I got to go over there and get a ticket. He's like, hey, man, you want to announce the giveaway? And I was like, what are you giving away? And he's like, this machine right here. And I was like, oh, no shit, how do you enter? He's
So
like,
cool.
you need a ticket. And I was like, shit, I'm going to stop by today, and I'm going to get a ticket for the unveiling or whatever, the raffle at 5.
That's awesome. He has one of those set up in there, too, right?
Yeah, that's the machine in the middle.
In the middle,
so he's
yeah.
got the CK, the prime weld, and then he's got the Fronius.
That's awesome.
He's got a neat little setup over there. That's where Max and I are going to do our competition at. So I got to get with you either later on today, because I brought my hood. I finally brought my hood today.
Sweet.
And do like a couple little demos and everything. I'm a little bit rusty on my TIG work.
Sweet.
So it should be a good show, man. Like anything else specifically that you want to see while you're here? Anything that stands out?
The Siegmund tables have my fascination. Just a beautiful, beautiful fabrication table. That's just what has my attention.
Yeah.
That's like, it's been, yeah.
They've got some really cool stuff over there. That's the one table I haven't had a chance to get over there yet. I do when I finished up the podcast yesterday with Nate. I talked to some of the supporters of the show, the viewers, or not the viewers, the people that listen to the show. And then I just kind of bounced around with a mobile microphone and recorder and just was talking to people. I didn't get a chance to see Siegmund. I walked past their booth, but I want to swing by and check them out as well, because they got some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I love it. So I worked on I used to work off of a big DCT table, and just the fab tables that have all the holes for fixturing and everything are just next level.
Yeah.
And it seems weird because I went from working off of a flat top, aluminum top, in a production shop for years to working on a nice fab table. And the difference is just your capabilities are so much greater.
Yeah.
Everything is so much better with those tables. Even with the holes in them, like, really you don't have things falling through all the time like you would expect. And what's cool with those fab tables over at the Siegmund booth, they have the ones that have the big slots, and they have smaller tables that have smaller slots.
Right.
And they have fixtures, like you're saying with the other tools, where they make smaller versions of the big ones because just to fit whatever.
Yeah, not everybody's going to need. We used a plenum table or an acorn table back when I was with Ironworkers, and it was like a 4x8, and it had the squares in it. You ever seen those? They're
Oh, yeah.
They're like 2x2 squares. And I mean, we would build some like heavy fabrication stuff, and the pins that you put in there to kind of lock things in, we'd drive them in with a 6 or an 8 pound sledgehammer.
Wow.
And then, like, you would think you're never going to get that back out. You hit the back side of it, and boom, it's just it's shaped kind of like a spread open candy cane.
Okay.
And I mean, you can hold anything. If it's sitting on that table, it's not going to go anywhere. And they shot the tables in with a laser, so they're 100%, flat and level. Like, you don't tack weld to these tables, you don't grind on these tables. This is where all the fixturing happens. I would lay all my stuff out, tack it together, and then I'd lift it back up off the table and slide 2x4s up underneath it, and then drive the pins back down, and then weld it all out. And then you let it cool, and now it's physically, held, exactly where you need it. You weld it all out, and then once everything cools down, then you can break it apart or take the pins out. So now you don't have to deal with the heat distribution and the warpage and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because we did a lot of stainless handrail on it, and stainless, as soon as you start putting heat to it, man, it wants to go everywhere. But if you can keep it in the same spot, and not overheat your welds, it comes out pretty flat once it's done.
Yeah.
You'd have to do a little bit of tweaking, but for the most part, I mean, it was on point.
That's awesome.
So I know you got your event going on over here at 11 o'clock. I've got to do a presentation for Weld Ed downstairs. So go ahead and wrap it up, and then enjoy the rest of the show.
Awesome. It's been great talking with you.
All right, brother.
We'll see you later over there.
Yeah, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this week's episode of the Arc Junkies Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. New episodes are released every Monday. And if you have a spare minute, swing by iTunes and leave me a review. It helps out the show tremendously. You can follow me on Instagram at Arc Junkies Podcast, and you can stay up to date on all things Arc Junkies related on the Facebook page if that's more your speed. Stay safe out there, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.